something to say. It's certainly difficult reading Sandeep Lamichhane of his hands because he bowls with a bit of a cross seam, similar to Imran Tahir at this point.
I think not just Lamichhane, but even Regmi previously. I think what the spinners have done is given room to the batsmen. They've bowled wider of the players, and that's probably why or where they've been taken for runs. I mean, there's been very few balls that have been hit off the stumps, and even this last 6, the ball was flighted, which is good or fine, but it just had a lot of width. It allowed Rohan to free his arms.
That ball got the under edge, but difficult catch for the keeper.
The umpire at that end is Tabarakdar, who I had the good fortune of playing against when he was playing for Hong Kong and I for Singapore. We've had many an interesting tussle. Good run there, good pressure put on the fielder.
Hit straight to point for no run. 10 overs gone. Singapore 96 for 1. I would like to invite Kash Patel back into the comm box. Subin going for a bit of a break. Kash, welcome.
Thank you, Sharon. Good to have you back today commentating as well. I really enjoyed commentating with you on the Singapore versus Malaysia match. Very knowledgeable about the game, just like Zubin. It's Timothy taking strike to face Bohara, who went for 14 in the first over.
Rohan's gone for a lap sweep here. A wide ball down the leg side. So Abhinash has changed ends. He was, when I say he's changed side, in fact, he was bowling around the wicket. Now he's come over. Good intent from Rohan to try and get the ball over short fine. Tight single, but he's got back. So Cash, 97 for 1 after 10.1. 98 for 1, beg your pardon, after 10.1. Singapore will be very happy with that.
Yes, they would take that any day. And it's also just nice to see these two youngsters batting with such intent, with such positivity, especially Rohan, who's a local homegrown talent I was mentioning the other day. He's first played for Singapore when he's 15. Really happy to see him playing well today.
Great shot by Tim, straight to Paris at covers. I was mentioning to Zubin, usually at a time when Nepal usually needs a wicket, Paris, till up until the recent past, used to be bowling either his medium paces or off spinners. Nepal certainly will be missing his services from a bowling standpoint.
Oh, almost took Rohan out there. Young Tim, that was smashed down the ground.
And that's not the first time Tim's done that. So Rohan's probably going to watch himself. It happened 2 overs ago as well. But that's what happens when you're absolutely creaming the ball to all parts of the ground. That incident reminded me of once where Inzamam hit the ball back to Moranan to Hayward back in Sharjah. That's a fantastic shot, but he's caught at short fine leg. didn't get the connection that he was wanting, and the fielder was good to get around to snap up a really smart catch.
Yeah, and missing out on a well-deserved 50, really, but very well played by this young man, especially after that early loss of Surinder. I'm sure he's not happy with himself getting out.
Knowing Rohan, he'll probably be kicking himself. But this is the break that Nepal wanted. Nepal will be really happy to see the back of Rohan. This is an opportunity for Nepal to get some inroads into the Singapore batting lineup. Saying that we've got Manpreet Singh coming to bat, who looked really good last innings, and certainly a fluent stroke maker as well.
Yes, a very, very classy batsman. Manpreet Singh again brings a lot of positivity to the crease. Very busy young cricketer, always looking to rotate strike, which if they play well, or they played well for themselves, will work well for Singapore too, with the Timothy at the other end, still looking to hit that ball hard and try to score those boundaries, and Manpreet can work his way in.
Absolutely. Manpreet's got a higher score of 155 in the Premier Division in Singapore. Certainly one of the key batsmen within the Singapore batting lineup. That was a massive wicket for Nepal. Rohan was playing really good cricket up until that point, and when he went a bit extravagant, it led to his downfall. But that's the way T20 goes, Cash.
Oh yes, and at only one wicket down, one would then say, you do have that luxury of wanting to manufacture those shots to get the extra boundaries.
Good ball by Abhinash to start off, a nice tidy Yorker. Manpreet just punts it down to long on for a single.
100 is up for Singapore at the end of the 11th over.
100 up in
Exactly
10.5 overs.
Hit down to long on for a single. He had to hurry down in the end. There's a bit of a ricochet off the stumps, and Manpreet was very keen to seal another single. Timothy was not interested.
That's how how hard he hit the ball, Cash. From the boundary, Deepak Ari has hit the stumps down on the full. Brilliant throw.
Very good throw indeed. 11 gone, 101 for 2. Sharon, what would be your target score from here?
Singapore should surely target a score between 210, 220 with the start they've got and the firepower that they have coming in as well. But it's important to carry the same momentum.
And what will be the minimum you would want? I was asking you the other day as well, but on this pitch today, I was told by Zubin this is only the second time it's been used. The first time as well was a high score in the Kuwait Qatar game. So what would be the bare minimum you would need?
A change in the bowling. We've got Sarad Wesokar coming to bowl. Probably along with Paris, one of the stalwarts of Nepal cricket. Played, if I'm not mistaken, was born in the Middle East and moved back to Nepal, and since then has been an excellent servant to Nepal cricket, bowling his off spinners here. Coming back to your question around the minimum score, Zubin, Cash, this looks like a 190 wicket, but saying that this wicket is going to open up and certainly going to play a role for the Singapore spinners, but this certainly looks like a 180, 190 wicket at a minimum.
Yeah, and sitting at 1 or 2 for 2, you would one would expect Singapore to score at least that, provided they keep that same approach of wanting to rotating the strike and then hit those boundaries in between. To me, that dismissal of Surendran, and Zubin rightly pointed it out, that was to do with the nerves side of it too. When he hit those 2 back-to-back boundaries, he didn't need to go for that 3rd shot. So as long as they don't commit any of those mistakes in the rest of the innings, I think 180, 190 should be definitely on the cards.
That's exceptionally well played by Tim David. Full toss from Sarad. Hit between deep mid-wicket and long on.
Cut the 2 fielders.
Absolutely split the fielders in half. Really well placed by Tim. Suddenly going really well for Singapore. 44 of 27. Really looking on song. Tim just rocking back and pushing the ball to deep mid-wicket for a single.
Yes, you would definitely want Tim to go on from here.
Singapore would certainly want him to stay right to the very end. Hopefully getting a good 80, 90 odd. But he's the sort of batsman that can really... Oh, great shot by Manpreet to backward point for a single. He's the sort of batsman that can absolutely change gear. Like just the other day, he was there for a short stay, like you mentioned previously, Cash. But the kind of cricket he played, you can already see that he's someone who can score really quick runs, and for that current strike rate.
Oh yes, and as we've already seen as well, he can hit the ball hard. I saw him in the nets the other day. One of the players was giving him throwdowns, and the power that he had in his drives in the nets. At one point, I thought I hope the guy giving him throwdowns should go and wear a helmet, because if there's one which would have, slight mishit or something, the ball was just rocketing into the nets.
Sandeep Lamichhane has come into the attack, and top edge from Manpreet that goes over Paras at covers. So Sandeep Lamichhane coming back from the
Balestier Road end.
Balestier Road end. He started off at the Balestier Road end, bowled his next over from the Serangoon Road end, and he's back to the Balestier Road end.
Rangoon Road.
Rangoon Road's the other side.
Yes.
Apologies, folks. Tim's absolutely monstered that over long gone for a massive 6. That's 6 in any ground.
Oh yes, definitely, and it's gone out of the ground, and there's lots of spectators here today at the ground, folks. As you can see, the scenery, a lot of Nepali supporters in the Singaporean contingent watching from the pavilion side, just being shown on your screens now, and they are absolutely ecstatic. They've been making a lot of noise as Tim is now on 51 of just 29.
Great 50 for Tim.
Well earned. Now he plays it to square leg for another single. Smart, intelligent cricket by both these cricketers, although Mandeep Manpreet. My apologies, folks. Early days at the crease for him, but he's rotating the strike and handing over to Tim. Again, just nudged behind square. The keeper runs around. One more single. As Zubin was mentioning earlier, even if they keep to look to score at least just one boundary and over and pull in another 3 or 4 singles, that should easily pull them through for that 180, 190 score.
Another googly by Sandeep, and it's really well played by Tim for a 4.
Smartly ran it down the ground.
Cash, usually teams within T20 or 50 over cricket tend to target the weakest bowler in the opposition for runs. This approach from Singapore to target Lamichhane has worked out really well for them so far.
Oh yes, Lamichhane definitely seems to be reeling a little bit from this approach.
That was the first flighted ball by Sandeep, and he got a bit of purchase from the wicket. That probably sends a message as well, to flight the ball just a tad bit and get as much revolutions on the ball.
Oh yes, I mean, and if you want to get wickets, you have to do that. You have to look to do that, toss the ball up, slow it down a bit. Like you said, get those revolutions going on the ball. That's what's going to get the batsman tempted and also possibly make mistakes as well. If you're going to keep bowling flat and quicker, going to be very hard to contain and as well as to get wickets.
$122 for 2 after 13. Folks, if you've just joined us after the first ball, Cash and I will give you a quick rundown of the proceedings up until now.
As Sarat continues from the Rangoon Road end.
Well played to long off for a single by Manpreet. Singapore winning the toss, elected to bat, opening up with Surendra Chandramohan and Rohan Rangarajan. Surendra Chandramohan, after a couple of boundaries, skied one to point. Rohan and Timothy taking Singapore back on track.
Oh, he has absolutely smoked that one behind square for a 6.
The number of balls we've lost this tournament, Cash, has been unreal.
Indeed, it has. And if there's any kids who are watching at home, you want to come down after the tournament finishes today for a little treasure hunt with your parents around the park outside of the grounds, you're sure to find a few souvenirs for yourself.
And those staying in the vicinity, don't be surprised if one actually enters your doorstep.
Yes. The way Timothy is hitting them.
So yes, just to continue, so Rohan got a really well made 49, really took to the bowlers, had some absolutely towering sixes as part of his innings. He perished trying to play the lap sweep, getting caught at short fine leg of the bowling of Abhinash Bohara. Since then, Manpreet and Tim have been nudging the ball around and hitting the, I would like to say occasional, but it's actually not that occasional. It's been probably a big one every single over, Cash.
Yes, and again, any kids watching at home, this is the approach you should bring, especially into T20. The least number of dot balls And if you can look to hit a boundary every over, you've got yourselves in a good position. You have to look to take on the bowlers.
Manpreet missing that one outside off stump. That was his bread butter shot, which is the inside out short over covers. Bit of a change to the field. Short third man and point and covers coming into play. Manpreet hitting that back of point. Bit of a misfield, allowing the batsman to go for one.
Looks very classy, Manpreet, when he plays those shots on the offside.
Certainly. With a lot of good batsmen, you can certainly see they have a little that extra time to play the ball.
And that's the key. That's the key. All you youngsters out there, always you should look to be watching the ball early out of the bowler's hands.
Tim David's asking for a change of gloves. Let's talk about Tim for a second here, Cash. Tim's obviously come from Australia. For him to acclimatise to the Singapore conditions, I certainly saw him a couple of times during the innings remove his helmet, and you could see sweat just absolutely pouring off his head. So kudos to him to actually acclimatise, come into the setup, and now obviously contribute to Singapore in a big way.
Oh yes, Singapore cricket is definitely enjoying the fruits of having him in the squad today. But you see, about the acclimatising part, when you're in there, you set yourselves up with a nice score. The adrenaline just keeps you going. I'm sure he'll probably lose a couple of kilos by the end of the innings, but we'll have to quickly go and rehydrate. I had heard from Rahul Dravid years ago in a typical test innings, and he used to sweat a lot. He would lose about 6 kilos when you play those long test innings.
That reminds me of Mitchell Stark conversation that not that I had, wish I did, but when he had an interview, he certainly mentioned when they tour India for a test series, they all come back about 8 to 10 kilos lighter. That's unreal. This is going to be really interesting. Basant Regmi, who went for 29 of 2 overs, has come into bowl, and he's your typical left-arm orthodox who flights the ball in, trying to tempt the batsman to a big one. I'm really keen to see how he goes here against Tim Davids. Bowled nice and flat, drilled down to long on for a single. He certainly would need to bowl a little bit more quicker to Tim Davids and maybe tempt Manpreet for that big shot with a bit of flight going.
Yep, let's see what he's going to bring in these next 5 balls. Nepal searching for that next wicket, and definitely Manpreet will be the first one to go to look to target, as he's just recently come to the crease. There it is. There's his inside out drive to extra cover for a single. Just looks elegant. Just absolutely love watching that shot when he plays.
But that was Basant Regmi again changing the approach and bowling that really flighted ball for Manpreet.
Tim would be fancying himself to take this all the way. 65 of 36, still about 6 overs to go.
Well bowled by Basant Regmi. Saw the batsman come down the crease and absolutely fired it into the batsman's pads, who played it really well towards long gone for a run.
Played to long on by Manpreet for another single.
Really well fielded by Gyanendra Mala here at Longon. Experienced campaigner with Singapore as well. Opening bat for Nepal.
Manpreet doing a really good job so far of rotating the strike and letting Tim to look to play the big shots.
Really well bowled by Basant Regmi again, really cramping Tim Davids for room, not allowing Tim to use those big levers.
Yes, powerful shoulders he has, young Tim.
Tim hailing from Western Australia, batting with a Bradbury bat as well, which is certainly manufactured in Western Australia as well.
Slightly moving the field there in the covers.
Full toss by Basant Regmi and caressed away to deep mid-wicket for 1 run by Manpreet Singh. The score's on 138 for 2 after 15 overs. Folks, if you've just joined in, just a quick rundown on the Nepalese team. Paras Khadka leading the side, followed by Gyanendra Malla, Sharad Wesokar, Basant Regmi, Sompal Kami, Dipendra Singh Airy, Sandeep Lamichane, Karan KC, Rohit Kumar Paudel, and, beg your pardon, Binod Bandari, and Abhinash Pohara. Cash, will you do the honours for Singapore?
Yes, as we will also have a change in the commentary box. Sharon will be taking a short break. Zubin joining us back again. Singapore today led by their medium fast bowler, experienced campaigner Amjad Mahbub, Ananta Krishna, the leg spinner, dot ball first up. Welcome back, Zubin.
Thank you, Ash. And we're in the business end of the inning now. The last 5 overs, Singapore have done really well to get to where they are.
There's that one again, played by Manpreet through to sweeper for a single. Your ideal score, Zubin, from here?
I always thought it needed to be around, at least around 170, 180 to be competitive. It's a good batting track, and Nepal are a strong batting side, so they will need to make sure they put up something that's competitive. They're not too far from that, and they still have 30 balls left. A lot is going to depend on this pair here. They're well set, and what they make of the last 5 overs is very, very important. Sharad he's bowling well. If you see what he's doing, is he's hitting the ball into the wicket. It might appear as half trackers, but it kind of reduces the options you have.
Hit out towards cow corner for a couple there by Manpreet. Yes, you're right, and he's also bowling smartly. You saw the earlier shot from Tim as he was stepping out. He fired the ball a bit wider. It was a bit harder for Tim to get under it. In the end, he only managed a single with that one.
That's well played to deep mid wicket for one by Manpreet. Manpreet's he's a thinking cricketer. He's got a good head on his shoulders. It was almost like the right guy to come in to bat after the fall of Rohan's wicket. You needed someone who could partner with Tim and take the innings forward, and these two have batted really well as a pair.
So far, yes.
Very well fielded on the boundary there. Saved a certain 4. Saved 2 runs for his side.
Just look at that power that Tim had in that shot. I almost thought, to me, it looked like there wasn't much bat in it the way he played the shot, but it just rocketed towards the boundary.
It's a feature you find in cricketers who come from who've learned their cricket and played in Australia, is the timing, because they don't play with very heavy bats in Australia given the nature of the wickets there. You find players from the subcontinent using a lot heavier bats because they tend to play more of the front foot. You can see the timing that Tim has, and he's been timing the ball spectacularly today. He's on 70, and I'm sure Singapore are hoping he's not done yet.
Yes, as you can see, the Singapore crowd over in the pavilion. It's been some exciting cricket by this young fella. Very pleasing for the crowd from both sides, I'm sure. Crowds love their boundaries, and him and Rohan certainly given them a number of them today. Folks,
the bowler is Regmi.
This telecast is brought to you exclusively by Singapore Cricket Association and WEC Sports. Hope you're enjoying the coverage at home. Screamed straight down the ground by Manpreet for a 4. Ended up being a full toss, that one. Manpreet joining the party with Timothy with that boundary.
Great use of the feet there. He made that into a full toss and put it straight behind the bowler.
The best spot to hit if you want to get a boundary for certain. Another full toss, and this one for a huge 6 towards mid-wicket. As you can see on the replay, stepping down again.
Not the best of days for Regmi. He's been targeted by the Singapore batsman. He's given 45 runs. It's an interesting choice by Paras Kharka to give him that over, given that he'd already gone for about 35 in his first 3. But you know, he's the captain. He knows best. The Singapore batsmen have batted him well as well.
They have certainly taken him on. He's lost control there a bit. That one also ended up being a full toss. It obviously plays into your confidence when you've been hit for 30 odd runs in your first 3 overs. Zubin, you played a lot of cricket.
Well, it does two things. It either eats into your confidence, or you respond to it and you do something about it. I've always said this: the game never keeps going one way. If you've got something in you, you've got to be able to pull it back. And what's very creditable so far is that the batting side has been able to keep up the momentum. They've not let it slip, at least till now. It's been, I don't know what it is, but it's really, it hasn't been the most impressive bowling effort. There's been a lot of full tosses and balls that have been bowled wide of the stumps. You still have to score off them, but it's they haven't really tried to pick wickets. They've tried to contain, and this is a very hard ground to contain a batting side on.
Yes, with a deck like that, it's just going to be a batsman's day if you're not going to try to take those wickets, like you said. Another big hoik by Timothy.
That's a monster hit.
Definitely out of the ground.
It's gone at least 90 meters, if I'm not wrong. And this is quickly turned into a day that Pasand Regmi would like to forget.
Yes.
54 runs in his 4 overs. He's a much better bowler than that. It's just the caliber of batting that he's had to encounter today.
Yes, I'd have to agree with that, and it's cricket. I mean, you have those bad days, and you know, for those youngsters watching out there, as you can see, happens to the best of bowlers. It is about how you come back and keep working on your game to keep improving. Zubin?
Yes, you have to. And like I said in the very beginning, this is also the day you want to bring your A game to the ground. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way. That said, Nepal could pick up 3 or 4 wickets in the last 3 overs and, you know, stop Singapore 10 or 15 runs short of what could be a big score. You never know. This is a funny game, especially T20 cricket. It changes every over.
Absolutely, Zubin. And for all the Nepali fans out there as well, you know, just hang in there. Like Zubin said, cricket is a funny game. Things change in a matter of a couple of balls.
Is it Lamichane? Who's the bowler?
Nicely played out to square leg by Manpreet for a single.
Avinash Bohara, the bowler from the Serangoon Road end, switching back to bowling round the wicket to Tim, as he has done pretty much all day. He did that to Rohan as well. I think that's a strategy to the more aggressive of the 2 batsmen, where he's trying to cram them for room.
That's
out.
In the air, and a good catch taken down at long on by the fielder.
The end of a very good inning by Tim David. Tried to get on with it, and this is exactly what I mean by coming back into the game. That is just the break Nepal needed. That is just the break they needed. This is a very crucial wicket at this time. New batsman in, just takes the momentum away from the inning. And very well bowled, Avinash Bohara.
Yes, I think he held it back a bit there, which crammed him for room there. Timothy would have wanted to go on to score the big one, get the 100, but having said that, very well played indeed by the young man. As Chetan Suryavanshi.
Not a bad guy to come in, Chetan. If he has a good 10 balls, we could see something spectacular from him.
Yes, it is his home ground as well.
And he hits a long ball, from everything I've known of him.
Oh yes, played for Singapore for many years. Did he play with you as well, or was it after?
It was
your
after
playing days?
I stopped playing.
I would love to hear some stories. Single taken by Manpreet from you, Zubin. You've been involved with Singapore cricket for many years, played and captained as well.
Yes, I started playing for Singapore in 1993, and I just come into Singapore about a year ago, and it's been a wonderful association. Oh, he's hit that in the air, and it's a brilliant catch.
not a happy outing for Chetan. Looking to
very well bowled by Avinash Bohara there as well. It's not over. You know, the difference between winning and losing could be 10 runs.
Absolutely.
And that's why you don't lose your shape.
Absolutely. Who's the new batsman at the crease?
This is a game about momentum. It's what momentum you take into the next inning. And Nepal are bringing the momentum back in their favor. Also, the psychological difference of chasing anything under 200 versus a 200 or more is, again, something very different. So, that's a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot by...
And the misfield there.
Manpreet. That's a cracker of a cover drive.
That's his favorite shot as well. And as I was saying earlier, it looks very classy when he plays too. Has a lot of time playing that shot, and rewarded with that boundary, which will be a welcome relief for Singapore in this over, having lost those 2 wickets of that of set batsman Tim, as well as Chetan Suryavanshi on the first ball, a golden duck.
Another beautiful hit. And again, we're seeing proper batting. We are seeing conventional batting, and we are seeing the way Manpreet is reacting to the ball rather than trying to make too much of it.
Yes. And what that just tells you, in fact, I was having this discussion with Aminul Islam, who is here as part of the ICC with the tournament.
Top player.
Top player and top gentleman.
Indeed.
And he was talking about this bit with this whole T20 and power hitting and all that, but also at the same time that if you play with that strong base, with that good technique, you can still score runs, which is what is going to help you, in his view, also to play for longer as well, because as you get older and the hand-eye goes a bit off, it's a lot
more
harder.
The eye than the hand, but more the eye, and it keeps you in the game, which is why you see people often look at AB de Villiers and they wonder what, he's playing all these shots 360 degrees around the stumps, but that's an AB de Villiers. That's not every batsman is going to be an AB de Villiers, and I think it's very important